Hello there and welcome to Living in Provo, Utah. On today's video, I'm going to talk about what it's like living in Provo, Utah, Utah Valley, and all of Utah for that matter as a non-Mormon. It's going to be an interesting video, so let's get after it now. Hey, is this your first time to my channel, Living in Provo, Utah? On this channel, I'm covering everything from Lehi to the north, Spanish Fork on the south, Provo in the center, all the cities in between, about what it's like living in Provo, Utah. You know, the good, the bad, what it's like to work, play, eat, sleep right here in Utah Valley. So my name is Scott Walters. I have people reach out to me all the time. I absolutely love it. So look, if you're thinking of moving in 9 days or 90 days, reach out to me. Give me a call, shoot me a text, send me an email. I would absolutely love to help you make a smooth move to the Provo, Utah area. Subscribe to the channel, like the video, and again, tap on the notification bell so you can stay current every time I drop another video about living in Provo, Utah. Okay, so there's usually several topics that I just pretty much steer clear of, and that's like politics and religion. But you know, I have people that ask me all the time, because they're coming from all over the country, what's it like living in Utah? You know, what's it like with living with the Mormons? And so I feel like I need to address this topic with you, but I also want to be careful because I don't want to, run afoul of any discrimination laws. You know, as a real estate agent, I really have to be an unbiased party. And so I hope that in a way, I hope that's what I can convey to you in this video. But I also need to, I'm going to come at this from an angle of having been an active member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints my entire life. Both my parents were members of the church. All my family was raised in the church. I'm still active in the church. I served a mission for the church in Spain many years ago. I attended their flagship university and graduated from Brigham Young University. So just take that information, use it how you will. That's just kind of my experience. I'm going to share with you what it's been like growing up in Utah, particularly in Utah Valley, as a member of the church, and what it might be like for you if you're not a member of the church, or even if you're a member who's coming from another area, because I have a lot of people that are members. They come from areas outside of Utah, and they wonder what it's like living here. So with that, let's talk about what it's like living here in Utah Valley. So I think one of the first things I probably ought to address is the correct name of the church. Even though you may hear the Mormon Church, the correct name of the church is the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Oftentimes people refer to it as the church. So if you hear, you're out and about talking with people and you hear that term, the church, they're pretty much generally referring to the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. But if you refer to the Mormon Church, it's kind of the same thing. Or the LDS Church, we all know you're referring to the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Its worldwide headquarters are in Salt Lake City. So back in 1847, July 24th, there's actually a very big celebration every year here in Utah, all up and down the Wasatch Front. I mean, all the little towns and everywhere you have celebrations. It's called Pioneer Day, and they're celebrating the pioneers. They crossed the plains and came to Utah, and famously on July 24th, Brigham Young was in a wagon and was pulled up and shown the valley, and he said, "This is the right place, drive on." And so ever since then, there's been a lot of members of the church that live in this area. Over, I don't know, maybe 20, 30 years during that pioneer period, there were roughly 60,000 people who made that trip across the American, I guess, Midwest and west towards Utah, and settled in the Utah Valley area. And that's why there's such a heavy population of members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints in Salt Lake. Now, I remember reading an article probably 4 years ago, I think it was in the Salt Lake Tribune, that said that now there are more people who are not members of the church that live in the Salt Lake County area. I think it's about 48% of the population are members of the church, whereas the rest are not members of the church. So it may not be as populated members as you think. I was just looking up some of the most recent statistics. There are 2,161,526 members of the church. At least they're on the records of the church. So that makes the population of Utah about 66% members of the church. The way they organize things is they have areas. So you have the North America area, and then you come down, you have the Utah area, and then the Utah area is divided down further into what are called stakes and wards. And that's just really a collection of several wards. Wards are basically your local congregation. Probably anywhere from 300 to 500 people are in that ward. And then, 6, 7, 8 wards make up a stake. The stake is guided and led by a man called the stake president. He'll have 2 counselors. that help him run the organization of the stake. The wards are run by bishops who will have 2 counselors that help him run the ward. There's all kinds of ward auxiliaries or programs in leadership positions within a ward. You'll have an elders quorum president that kind of helps oversee the men in the ward. You have a relief society president that helps oversee the women in the ward. You have a primary president that helps oversee all the children in the ward. Just a few more statistics for you. There are 620 stakes in Utah. There are 5,053 wards and 322 branches. Branches are just basically a smaller ward. It's just they don't have as many people there, so instead of having a bishop, you have a branch president. There are 17 active temples. So you see the big buildings spread around Utah Valley or Salt Lake County or up into Weber Davis. Those bigger church buildings, they're not church buildings, they're called temples of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. There's 17 of those, and I think I counted up, there's something like 12 that are under construction or announced. So there's quite a few more that you'll see around as well. I think one of the things that is when people first come here, I don't know if it's shocking, but it's just like they'll notice that on almost every corner there's an LDS church building. That's one of the things that's unique to Utah. There just are a lot of wards. There's 5,000 something wards. So in order to house all those people, give them a place of worship, they have to build those ward buildings. Generally, you've got about 3 wards that attend one building. And so that's how that's divided up. But that's why you see so many church buildings all over Utah. Definitely one thing that you need to know is the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints is considered a very conservative religion. They teach very traditional family type values of a mother and a father in the home, of believing in Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior. They teach people to love one another, to be kind to your neighbor. They also have some other doctrines and principles that others who aren't here might find quite unique. Oftentimes people will hear, well, if you're a member of the church, you're not allowed to drink. Well, we all have agency. We can choose to drink or not drink. Those who are very active choose not to, and that stems from something that's called the Word of Wisdom. It was a revelation given to the first prophet of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, Joseph Smith, way back in the 1800s, and it's basically a law code. I mean, similar to like what the ancient Israelites had back in ancient Israel. They kind of had a food code, what they could eat, what they shouldn't eat. Generally, it's all about health, what makes you healthy. And so that law code, the Word of Wisdom, deems that alcohol is not healthy for the body, tobacco is not healthy for the body, and so those things are prohibited. But it's much more than just about what you can't partake of. It's also meant to be a law code or a health food code of what you should partake in your body. Things that are healthy for you, like grains and vegetables and fruits and things of that nature. So it's not just about what you can eat, but it should also be about what will make your body healthy. So one of the other kind of traditional values that you'll see with members of the church that are active is on Sundays, you'll see them dressed very much like I'm dressed now. This is called your church clothes. And if you see a minivan full of people wearing dresses and suits, you know they're probably headed to church. Sabbath observance is very important to members of the church who are active. And on that day, they give that day to the Lord, to worship the Lord, to serve their neighbors, to read scriptures, to do anything that is good and healthy. It's a day that they refrain from doing anything else that they could do the rest of the week, which means they're probably not going to be going out camping or to the lake boating or fishing or going grocery shopping. Those things are all considered things that you don't normally do on the Sabbath. Those are the things you do on other days of the week. Now, with that being said, if you're not a member of the church, that's a fantastic day for you to go out and recreate. You're going to have a lot less people to contend with out there. Same with shopping. You're going to find a lot of stores not as full as normal, and so you may have a lot of those stores to yourself. And you will find stores that are open, but you also will understand that there are many store owners who are members of the church that shut their store down on Sunday. So there are a lot of stores that close, and you won't be able to shop in those stores on Sunday, and that's part of the culture of living in Utah. Okay, so I've talked a little bit about the amount of members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and that Utah is about 66% members of the church. With that being said, the activity level varies dramatically. There's a lot of those people who are very active. They go to church every Sunday. They believe in all the doctrines of Christ taught in the church. And then you have others who may come every now and again, and some who don't come at all but they've never bothered to have their names removed from the membership of the church. And they may smoke or drink or whatever it is that the rest of the members of the church don't normally partake of. So there's a whole spectrum of people within inside the church, those who are very active all the way to those who we oftentimes refer to as less active. Okay, so I wanted to touch on some of the culture and unique things about Utah. I'd addressed one of them already, and that is you are going to see an LDS ward building on, it feels like every corner. In some places, you will see two churches back to back. I mean, that's because they're in some areas where the activity level is very high. They have a lot of members that are very active and go to church all the time. They need those buildings for their Sunday worship and services. So another thing that you're going to see a lot of in all over Utah are LDS temples. So the difference is, with a ward building, everyone's welcome to go enjoy a Sunday service worship. Nobody's not invited. Everybody can come in. When it comes to the temple, it's a little bit different. You do have to be an active member of the church who has a temple recommend. This is where you go in front of your ecclesiastical leaders, your bishop and your stake president, and just let them know that you're active, that you believe in Jesus Christ, and that you're being a good person, and then basically you can have your temple recommend and you can go into the temple. Now, the temples are sacred places for members of the Church of Jesus Christ. This is where my wife and I were sealed together or married back in 1997 at the Salt Lake Temple. And one of the reasons that members of the church consider it such a sacred place is we believe that you are sealed for eternity and you will never hear the words "till death do you part" in a temple ceremony, wedding ceremony at the temple. So that kind of helps you understand what takes place in there and why members of the church revere the temple and talk about the temple and want to go to the temple. Hey, if you're finding these videos helpful about what it's like living in Provo, Utah, then I want you to like this video, subscribe to the channel, make sure to tap on the notification bell so you can stay current every time I drop another video about living in Provo, Utah. And make a comment down below. Let me know the unique things that you like or dislike about the culture of living in Provo, Utah, or Utah Valley as a whole. I'd love to know. Make a comment down below. Okay, so something that's also quite unique about Utah, if you drive around pretty much any of the high schools, you're going to see what looks like a very small LDS ward building right next to the high school. It's not an LDS ward building. It is a seminary building or maybe an institute building next to a university. And so this is something that's very unique here. Kids that attend high school, junior high and high school have the opportunity to have what's called release time, where they can go and go to seminary. And it's basically like a Bible study class, Sunday school class for an hour, where you can go and be instructed in scripture study, learn more about Jesus and his teachings. And if you're not a member of the church, your kids will probably be invited. They'll never be forced or coerced to go, but I'm sure there are a lot of the kids will be welcoming to them and invite them to come to maybe activities. Oftentimes they'll have socials and have, I know the one down here local in our town, they like to do every Wednesday. I think it's like root beer floats or something. They invite everyone to come. And they're just trying to live what they believe in, which is loving everybody and being kind to everybody. So that's what they're taught in those seminary buildings, and now you know what those are anytime you drive by a high school and see that mini church. Okay, let me address some misconceptions and maybe some of the lighter side of the culture of living here in Utah. Here's one of the misconceptions. Oftentimes I hear this: everyone is a member of the Church of Jesus Christ in Utah. Well, I've already showed you with the demographics that is not true. 66% are, but I would guess from that, maybe half of those are actually very active and devout members of the church, and the rest are just somewhere in between there. One of the other things I hear is, well, you can't buy alcohol in Utah. That's not true. Maybe on Sunday, but yeah, I mean, there are some very strict alcohol laws in Utah compared to other states. I remember when my family moved to Arizona as a teenager, I was shocked to see basically a liquor store inside the grocery store, because you don't see that in Utah. If you're going to buy alcohol here, you can buy beer inside the grocery stores, but when it comes to wines and other liquors and things like that, you have to get them at a state liquor store. That's something that's very unique about Utah. So another thing I hear about, well, there aren't any coffee shops. There's not any Starbucks. Well, not true. There are several Starbucks and Dutch Bros and other coffee shops around, and so you can find coffee shops here in Utah. Also, tattoo parlors. People say you can't get tattoos here. There's tattoo parlors all over the place. Another one that is a misconception is everyone has multiple wives. Well, that's not true either. The mainstream church of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints disavowed plural marriage clear back in the late 1800s, I think 1893. And so they have not practiced plural marriage since then. Now, one of the other things is, I hear this a lot, well, you can't think for yourself, you can only do what the church leadership tells you. It's a total misconception and misperception of members of the church. One of the key things and key doctrines of Christ that is taught in the church is the principle of agency. People are taught the doctrines of Christ, and then they are allowed to govern themselves. They are allowed to make their own choices and decisions, and they're not ever forced or told what they have to do. They are given guidelines on what will most likely bring happiness in their life if they choose to live by them, but no one is forced to live any of the principles of the church. Okay, so you may have heard that Mormons do not swear. Well, I'm here to tell you that Mormons have their own swear word codes, like, oh my heck, or dang it, or son of a biscuit eater, or this is my favorite, fudge, or sometimes you might hear, oh my gosh. It's true. One of the things that are taught within the church is to keep a clean mouth, clean language, and I am very imperfect in this matter, but generally you might hear people say kind of these fake swear words. One of the other things that you'll see a lot that's kind of unique to the culture here in Utah are soda shops everywhere. I call them the Mormon coffee shop, where everyone's going to get caffeinated up in the morning. You'll see them all over the place, and you can go there and get what are called dirty sodas, where you get whatever soda you like, and they'll add them up. Well, some of them called dirty sodas, not all of them, but they just have all these funny, unique names for them, where they just add amendments into your drink, like cream or shots of syrups and things like that. So you'll see those all over the place. In the morning, you'll see a line down the street for people getting their Mountain Dew or their Red Bull in the morning at the soda shop. Another thing, when you're looking at houses here, you'll find this to be pretty unique to Utah. You will see a lot of homes in the basement have what's called a food storage room. A lot of that stems back from the church teaching people to be prepared in case of emergencies. You never know when there could be an emergency that happens, and so you be prepared with a food storage. When I was a kid, they always taught you should have a year's supply in that food storage, so my family always lived by that, and we always had extras of everything: toilet paper, food, anything you can think of down in the storage room. So you're going to see that in a lot of the homes. Another thing that's very unique here is fry sauce. So people in Utah love their fry sauce. Well, what's fry sauce? Basically, it's ketchup and mayonnaise mixed together. Some people add a little stuff to it, like maybe pickle juice or whatever. Other fry sauces, sometimes they're just like a white sauce where it's just mayonnaise with like buttermilk in it. So that's just kind of a Utah thing. Rather than just having ketchup with your fries, they've come up with all these different sauces to put on your fries. But the pink sauce, the pink fry sauce, that is quintessential Utah. And one of the other things too is if you're going to a funeral in Utah, don't be surprised if you hear people referring to funeral potatoes. I was actually at a funeral just 2 days ago for my sister-in-law, and they had 3 pans of funeral potatoes, which is basically scalloped, chopped, or grated potatoes with cream cheese, sour cream, and a can of cream and chicken soup, and cheese, shredded cheese in it, all mixed together and baked. That's funeral potatoes. And then always alongside it will be green salads and also Jello salads. Everyone always makes fun and says it's always a green Jello salad. Well, at the funeral I was at, they were blue Jellos. So anyway, those are just kind of some of the unique things that you'll see around Utah and hear people make fun of. I hope this has given you just a good glimpse of kind of the culture and what it's like living here in Utah. Generally, members of the church or Mormons are oftentimes referred to as being very friendly, very welcoming. And that's been my experience. Of course, I am a member of the church, but that has been the experience of my friends who are not members of the church or are less active. They oftentimes talk to me about how kind and nice their neighbors are. So I would expect that that would be your experience as well if you move into this area. Look, if you're thinking of moving in 9 days or 90 days, reach out to me. Give me a call, shoot me a text, send me an email. I'd absolutely love to get you the information you need to make a smooth move to the Provo, Utah area or anywhere along the Wasatch Front in Utah. And hey, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to my channel, and tap on that notification bell so you can stay current every time I drop another video about living in Provo, Utah. So with that, I'll catch you on the next video.